Hey, gals, guys, and otherwise, this is Jonathan O. Roseline.
And this is Noah, also known as Polyphonic. And you're listening to Horns and Wings, the podcast where we talk about Saga one issue at a time, except when we don't, when we're between arcs, like now. So now we just shoot the shit, right? That's what's happening?
No, we're doing issue 19. What are you talking about? Are you not prepared for this?
I've never read issue 19. I skipped it. I went straight to 20.
Oh, perfect. This will be a new experience for everyone. Let's dive in.
Just kidding.
Hey, this is another Between the Arcs. We're shooting the poop, man.
We're just shooting the poop. Are we shitting? Maybe.
Are we shooting? I really like to start it off with the dumbest shit on these ones, just to make sure everyone falls off immediately, and then there's no pressure for either of us because we're talking to no one.
Yeah,
not even each other usually.
And now that everyone's gone, we can actually talk about some really interesting stuff that you've pulled up.
I am Brian K. Vaughan. I can finally say it. Well, here, so this is
Brian
this is
K. John.
Shut the fuck up, Noah. Get out.
Brian K. John
episode.
and Noah Staples.
I fucking hate everything. I'm done with the earth. I'm leaving it. So this is the format for this one. Clearly, we're on a very strict structure here. We're going to be talking about diving into just something we've referenced a million times throughout reading it, but we kind of wanted to summarize it a bit and get into the specifics of it, and that is the readability of the book itself. So the ways it is designed to make you never want to put it down and fly through it like so fast, and it's so addicting. So we're going to get into how they managed to do that because we have all the answers and we know everything. Also, we're going to get to that classic segment everyone loves, Back Matters. And who knows, there might even be a 2013 Saga reader survey. We don't, who knows? Yeah. And then we're going to get to your answers to the questions of the week. We got so many good ones. I'm so pumped about it. I'm pumped about this episode. First off, Noah.
Yep.
Why is this comic so good? I figure it's about time we ask.
Well, I think it's because it's really readable and you read it really fast.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Funny you mention it, because I happen to have a list here that I shat together right before we recorded. No, this is actually something I've been working on a new long form comics project with an artist, and I specifically said to them, I've been co-hosting this podcast about Saga, and I'm noticing all this crazy shit that they're doing to make the book addicting and very readable. And the biggest thing is very welcoming to new comics readers, because we've heard that a lot from commenters and stuff, is like, this was the first comic that people really got into and they weren't really reading comics. And for a lot of people, this is their first comic, period, set aside like maybe some Peanuts comic strips or something. And so this is something that I've been analyzing in my brain to death, and that I've been trying to make a list of to rip off as much of it as possible. But just what they do to make this so damn readable. No, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
I think the paneling makes it super readable. They're always like kind of maximum of 5 panels a page. Big panels, and panels that just have the way the panels are laid out and the way the art kind of flows into this, it's very easy to not get lost on the page. Yeah. Because I find some other comics, even, and it's been well established how much I love Jeff Lemire and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. He does a lot of really kind of out there stuff with his paneling, and it's cool, but you get lost sometimes, and you're like, was I supposed to read this first or not? And sometimes that can kind of serve a purpose, but I think it can be really intimidating to people who haven't read comics, because it's not like picking up a book. Like, there's kind of like you read your book, you read the first line, then the next line, then the next line, and it's not always clear which panel is supposed to be which.
Yeah, yeah. The ones that are coming to mind for me are ironically a lot of the stuff that I have historically recommended to new readers, which is like Sandman. I think is
Sandman
is a lot of those sort of like those montagey sort of mosaic layouts where it's just like everything is bleeding into everything else, and you have those big. You never see those big like horizontal skinny panels that are in a lot of stuff that's not in this one. I mean, and they're ones that like I've been reading comics for years. A few years ago I picked up Alan Moore's Swamp Thing for the first time.
Oh yeah.
And that is like reading a fucking tapestry. Like I don't know where to start on half of those pages, and it's gorgeous to just look at from a distance, but when you're trying to actually read it, it is a fucking job.
I think it's really interesting to bring up Alan Moore in this though, because I think another great comic to get people into comics, and another that has a very, very strict panel layout is Watchmen, famously so, right?
Yeah, the 9-panel grid.
Yeah,
as much as humanly possible. And I do think that's really interesting that Fiona Staples, not only is it like a generally hard cap to the how many panels there are per page. Usually 90% of the time it's 5 or less, but also just the shape of the panels. They will get slightly diagonal when action happens. Things will occasionally go slightly outside of the panel, but you never really get that. I think there's a lot of those like bleed images. A lot of artists, like even in comics I've done and stuff, where it's just like they'll have one panel that doesn't have any gutters and is sort of the background to every other panel.
Yeah,
stuff like that. Those bleed images, and beyond the splash pages, it's pretty rare to get a bleed image. And bleed means literally it's going beyond where the page is cut off, so it's going to the very edge of the page instead of having that white gutter around the panel itself. And so it's one of those things where it almost feels like an instruction book on how to read comics in the simplest way for new readers.
I think it's interesting though, because I think that whereas if you compare to something like Watchmen, I could be wrong, but I don't think Watchmen ever goes into the gutters. But
that's possible.
But Saga does sometimes, and it's really effective when they do. But because Fiona Staples isn't going into the gutters all of the time, it doesn't complicate things, and you feel it when a character is kind of stepping out of the gutter. Or a lot of the time, this is actually on phonographics, the lettering, a lot of the time the sound effects will kind of go outside of the gutter and transition you from one panel to another.
Yeah, no, and also, to bring up Watchmen, this is probably my coolest contribution to this conversation. There are 3 largely recognized sort of guidelines for how many words should be on a page, on a comic book page. And it is something that has been debated a lot in comics.
It's
amongst
4,
writers.
right? There should be 4 words.
4 words per page. And generally about 14 panels. So you really have to pick those wisely. But it really should. If it doesn't transition well into a flip book, then you're doing something wrong with your comic. No, so there are 3 different sort of guidelines that I've heard a lot from 3 different writers. The first one is Alan Moore, and he says that the max amount of words total on the page should be 210 words per page, is what he says is the max dialogue you can have on a page. Meanwhile, I'll go through all 3 and then I'll say
that's actually my problem. I thought that was 210 words per panel, so I've been doing it way wrong.
No, but no, that's been a book you're writing.
14 panels per page, 210 words per panel.
No, you've been writing a prose book, so
right.
it's actually very low, and and it's very weird because you just have paragraphs next to paragraphs on pages, but really pushing the medium forward. But then the second sort of standard or guideline I've heard a lot of is from Ed Brubaker, writer of Criminal and Captain America: Winter Soldier. Love Ed Brubaker. I haven't mentioned him enough on this show. He's one of my favorites. But he says, very interestingly, max amount of lines per balloon should be 3. So 3 line breaks per balloon.
That makes a lot of sense. Like that one just kind of viscerally resonates with me as soon as you say it.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting once we apply it to Saga. And then finally, Warren Ellis. So we're getting some titans of comics here. Warren Ellis says, and this is actually the one that I personally agree with the most.
Really? Because I've heard you haven't agreed with Warren Ellis on something before.
It's ironic because I've literally told Warren Ellis
that he can fuck off.
that what he suggested is wrong and I'm right, and that's not even a joke. Go listen to older episodes. But he says, turns out this guy's actually pretty smart and I'm the one that fucked up. He says max 3 balloons per panel is his maximum balloons per panel. So I actually went through this last volume that we read, arc number 3, and applied all of these. So the first one, which is super interesting, I went through the most amount of words per page that I could find on throughout the whole arc is this was me just sort of skimming through it and see what looked like a lot, but it is the page of dialogue between Special Agent Gale and Upshur and Doff, and they're discussing like the homophobia on their planet and whether like him asking them to leave his apartment, and it's somewhere around 165 words on the page, and that is in the top 1%. That is like the maximum that we hit, whereas Moore said 210.
That is so small. Yeah,
and so largely that is, and honestly that page is at least double what we normally get. At some point I'm gonna give in and I'm just gonna figure out exactly how many words and how many balloons are in every, like literally every issue. I'll do this at some point, maybe for a video essay or something, but with this arc, the most I found was about 165 words. So about 75%-ish of what Alan Moore suggested. And that is a big thing for me in terms of, this is not just for new readers or anything. Like, I still get put off when there's too much dialogue. One of my favorite comics that I've read in the last, 5 years was Ryan North and, was it Erica Henderson? I believe it's Erica Henderson. Their Squirrel Girl run is one of the most sincerely hilarious comics and so good and so brilliant. And there is still, with that book, which I would look forward to every month, I would turn a page, get just a wall of dialogue where it felt like half of what I was looking at was dialogue. And I would literally just set the book down and take a break from it, because it was just like, this is not what my brain is used to doing with comics, is reading this insane amount of dialogue.
And this is the thing, I think part of it is you're already processing a lot of information with comics. Because I always think about this where it's like, when I'm the same, when I see a lot of dialogue, I'm like, oh, that kind of scares me. But I'm like, but I read prose all the time and I love prose.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's already a lot going on. You're already needing to kind of process characters, watch action, see movements, see all of these things going on, right? So then when on top of that, you add in just having to deal with walls of text and almost sometimes like finding characters within these balloons, it becomes a real kind of mental puzzle.
Yeah, and I think you're switching between two parts of your brain for that, because with prose, you can consistently be in this fantasy world that you're making up exclusively in your mind. But for that, it's literally, for dialogue, it's taking you out of the world so that you can imagine hearing it. but you're no longer visualizing, like you're no longer engaged with that visual representation of what this world is whenever you stop to read dialogue. So I really do think that the less words the better, is largely the way to go if you don't want to be taken out of that world too much. And now with the 3 lines per balloon that Brubaker recommends, Saga does not give a fuck about this. Like, it is rare.
Yeah, I noticed that flipping through.
Yeah, it is sincerely rare for there to be a balloon that has like there's no attempt made at this. A good 30% or whatever of the dialogue neglects this. And it's just like, and it might even be, I think this is a lot of it has to do with the space that the artist is leaving for dialogue, and also just the letterer's preference of whether they want those sort of oblong balloons or nice clean circles.
Yeah.
And Saga very much goes for nice clean circles, which is visually appealing, I think.
I think this is another thing on kind of while we're on the topic of balloons. A lot of Saga's balloons, like even when there are slightly different colors or different fonts for people, generally they're very, very uniform. And it's not like distracting. Like, that's something, again, to bring up Sandman. I love Sandman, but there's all of these different kind of shapes and colors, and some balloons are black on white and some are white on black. And
yeah,
I think
literally it hurts my eyes to read a lot of Morpheus's dialogue in those books, because he has the white on black and it's all the scratchy like stuff. And they did that for the main character.
It's very kind of maximalist in its like every single thing is going to be depicted differently.
Yeah. I think that's so interesting. Yeah, they're very good about, again, just not distracting you with sort of, they're not trying to break the mold at all. Like, they embrace the mold, and they want this to be the perfect mold when it comes to construction of comics. But yeah, to get to that third one, the 3 balloons per panel.
Yeah.
That Warren Ellis suggested. There are 3 instances in this entire trade, this entire volume, where there are 4 balloons, and otherwise in every single panel there's never more than 3 balloons. So they are like just very dedicated to this. And it's so interesting to me. So largely, Saga just has way less dialogue than just about every other book. But it's so weird because one of the things I associate with it most, and especially with Brian K. Vaughan, is the dialogue and the conversation. And there are so many dialogue-based scenes too. And even like the stuff where it's just like, them. I mean, even, just straight up like the reporter is talking to the special agent.
Yeah.
Like, at its peak, it never goes above 3 balloons. And it never overcrowds the page, and we only hit 165 words.
I think that really speaks to Brian K. Vaughan's knowledge of the economy of words. Like, he's really, really good at saying a lot without saying much.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that a lot of really good writers just... When you write a lot, you get better at figuring out efficient ways to talk, right?
Yeah, and I also think, like, I think he's gotten a very good concept in his mind of just the scope of each issue, because I think a lot of it, and what allows for so much of this, is just him accepting that he has to do less in each issue than he's used to doing. Where it's just like I've been talking about doing a short with an artist, and we were talking about doing 4 pages for a long time, and finally we're just like, let's do 8 pages for the sake of it fitting into tweets. Let's do 8 pages, and suddenly it's just like, and just doing that same story, and suddenly the story just breathes so much more.
Yeah.
And it has so much more space for, it's easier to show things visually, because you can show sort of a progression of visual moments instead of having to get everything out in one panel. And it's so freeing and so nice, but it's just a matter of like, just, I have it so, I think a lot of writers have it so built into their brain, what one issue of a comic looks like,
Yeah.
and how much you can do in that sort of 3-act structure, I guess. But this book just abandons that.
Yeah, I think people almost build it as like an episode of a TV show sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
And a lot of the time in Saga, if you tried to flesh an issue out into a TV show, it would be a pretty sparse TV show.
Yeah.
It might work as like a 22-minute TV show, but
Yeah. And I think that's just why, and like, I think that the only issue that would fall under that category is the first issue, which was double the size.
yeah.
And so I think it very much, and also that just helps with not needing that cut and clear resolution and that 3-act structure in every issue. Just helps with the cliffhanger nature of the book a lot.
That's I was gonna bring that up next. Yeah, just because you're not being flooded with information, these plot points can take their time to develop, and it can really get its hooks in you as you're watching this stuff play out.
Yeah, for sure. And there's so much payoff that was set up a few issues ahead instead of within the same issue.
Yeah.
There have been instances where it's literally just like there's setup that happened in the last scene of the last issue for the next, like for the first scene of the next issue, and it works perfectly because they just don't have that dedication to everything being. They've pretty much completely ignored. There's always that bullshit thing that I hate hearing with comics, which is every issue is somebody's first issue, so you have to factor that into everyone. And Saga's just like, fuck you, read the whole book.
Yeah.
If you want to follow along, which makes perfect sense. I don't know why you wouldn't do that. And I think that happens to an extent. I think it's more of every arc is someone's first arc, probably. Is a little more, it works better in that way, but it gives no fucks about it being someone's first issue, which we will talk about when we get to what the free issue for Free Comic Book Day was, because it starts off in the most hilarious, like, fuck you new readers way possible, and I love it.
I think another thing too that I think a lot of people find very approachable with Saga is just like having the same kind of writer-author team or writer-artist team and lettering team throughout. Because I know when the first comic that I kind of read seriously was Sandman, and Sandman like went through a few different artists, and I remember it was always being really, really jarring to me when a story kind of changed artists, and I'm like, there is such a clear, and even though Fiona Staples has clearly, as we noted last issue, like improved a lot throughout, there's just a clear kind of aesthetic that is completely cohesive throughout by having the same team do all of it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good observation. And again, I think so much of the readability is tied to immersion in the world. And that is such a big part of it. Also, just the fact that another thing that I want to point out that I actually counted, a very common thing in just about every comic is that artists will use just flat, solid colors as backgrounds. Like they'll have the establishing shot that shows the whole setting, and then they will use a lot of just sort of abstract, solid color backgrounds. So that they don't have to keep drawing the same background over and over, especially if it's a complex environment. Fiona Staples only does that in this volume 6 times, where it'll just cut to white as a background. Everything else, she renders the background. It's that painted background every single panel. But there are 6 times where she'll just cut to white. One of them is for the action, for like action punctuation of Gwendolyn punching the Will in the face.
Yep, that's what I was thinking of.
Yep. And then the rest of them are all specifically wide shots on small panels so that they're ones that would, and always dialogue, and they're ones that would very easily become super clustered. I think a good example of it is, again, when Special Agent Gale is talking to Upshur and Doff in his apartment, and there's one where the background just becomes white, except she rendered the cabinets and counters and appliances in his kitchen, and then the characters, and then the rest of it is all white, because that just becomes too, again, it might slow you down if you have to figure out where the characters are in the panel. Then it slows down your reading, and it becomes complicated, and it takes you out of it even for a split second. And so it's always those anytime she needs to do a wide angle in a small panel, she just drops out the background so that you can focus exactly what you need to focus on. And then for the rest of it, she's always drawing the backgrounds, which I think goes so far in immersing you in this book, where you always feel present in this world.
I think another thing that she does that helps with this immersion, and I don't even know how to properly explain it, but all of her color palettes feel like they fit together. They're all really novel color palettes, which is just generally interesting. I am, as someone who makes color palettes for a living, I am super, super just in awe at the way that Fiona Staples is able to do so much and make you experience colors in new ways and give colors new emotions, but none of it really assaults you. None of it is jarring unless it's meant to be, and it all kind of has this flow. I think when I compare it to, I mean, especially like Silver Age comics are like hella maximalist, but even like even like a lot of kind of 90s comics are like that too, where there's just like a lot of colors going on, and it's just like I remember, and it's still a great story arc, but like I remember the first time I read the Age of Apocalypse arc, I was like, what the hell is going on at any given time?
Dude, okay, this is something that, because you're talking about the cohesive color palette, I'm about to blow your mind so fucking much. Find issue 16.
Yep.
And that shot that I animated of Prince Robot sort of walking towards the camera like a badass.
Yep.
And Kill Bill's playing. And look at that double page spread. We're seeing two separate scenes here, but the color of the room, it's Clara and Isabel talking on the left page, and then Prince Robot calling his Princess Robot on the other page. The color of the room is extremely similar in the color tone of the outdoors. The purple of the couch that Clara is sitting on is the same purple as Prince Robot's sash. And the pink of Isabel is identical to the pink just fucking curtain, I guess, draped behind Princess Robot. And the cohesion in these two pages in separate scenes, but what they do to just make having this book open to these two pages visually pleasing is so extensive, and again, just has to be thought out in some capacity.
And I think this is the thing, this is one of the biggest things that I would say for both Fiona Staples and Brian K. Vaughan, is they understand how you read it, because a lot of the time people look at a page kind of in a vacuum, not as part of a spread and part of a turn and stuff like that.
Or within scenes too.
Yeah, exactly. There's all of these moments when you can look at, if you open to almost any kind of like spread of Saga, there's a cohesive aesthetic to the page, no matter if it's against if it's two scenes or things like that, and that really goes a long way to sell. Like I just picked up another. I opened it to a random. This is chapter 13, when we meet Upshur and Doff, and on one side we have a splash of Upshur and Doff, and on the other side the rocket ship tree is going by the clockwork stars. There is a yellow on Upshur's pants that fit very well with the yellow on the clockwork stars. There's the orange on Doff's shirt that fits well with the orange, and then Hazel's blanket is blue, which goes with the blue of Upshur and kind of the background.
Yeah, and even the brown jacket of Doff and the rocket.
Yeah, that's just me picking a random page. That was not premeditated at all.
And yeah, and then even just narratively, the splash I was talking about before with the Prince Robot in one scene and Clara and Isabel in the other, it also reminds you of the fact that Prince Robot, it is in the same setting as them.
Yeah.
Just outside. And so, because sometimes we get those nice, like, sort of, like, the jarring, like, we're going to lush green to establish that we're on a different planet now. And then it's like sort of purposely, but then we generally still get those transitional colors between the scenes still. But I love that this is just mentally like, they're very close, so the palettes are very close.
And I think it's interesting because the jarring color shifts, like the intentional, that is always on a page turn. That's never like mid-scene. It's never super jarring colors on either side. Mm-hmm. I think this is something that Saga can do because they're with Image, because they don't have like ad pages between.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's why someone who breaks a lot of the sort of guidelines that we were talking about earlier, but is specifically to do their own thing and to fit into their own medium. Brian Michael Bendis is known for his double page splashes that still have like it's a bunch of panels on it, but they like cross over between pages, which is a rarity in comics, but he does it like crazy, and that is specifically to avoid getting cut in half and screwing up his timing with ads in the book.
Yeah.
And that his way of adapting to that, which I love. But yeah, like even looking at like now I'm noticing all this stuff of like, if you go to in a few pages before that Prince Robot and Clara parallel, if you go to Marco watching the open circuit, even like the chair that Alana is sitting on is the same pink as the outfit of the superhero woman in the open circuit.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's just it's so cool. And like the mermaid lady is the same color as Alana's hair.
Like here's a page where the stripes on the lighthouse are painted with a bit more of a pink tinge to them, so they match Isabel on the other page.
No, it's brilliant. And also we should point out, not only is it consistent artist doing this, but Fiona Staples is also coloring these.
Yeah,
and
that's very true.
I would be sincerely surprised if there was a book, at least up until the hiatus, that came out this consistently and had the same artist doing both the line art and the colors for every issue. That is so rare, except for maybe like a cartoonist, like, or someone who's doing the writing and the art and like everything in it. It is such a rarity to see this. So that is so interesting. I want to get through a couple more of these little things. There's a lot of them we've talked about before, like the having the establishing shots at the beginning of scenes is so much better for readability. We've talked a lot, and again, you can do this with literally, I was just going through earlier, literally any page. Go and see how much they stick to the role of whoever talks first in the panel is on the left. Whoever talks second is on the right. One of my favorite examples of this was in issue 15, the part where Alana and Marco are talking outside of the lighthouse after they got into the argument of whether she should get a job. And there's one point where Marco talks first, despite being on the right side of the panel, and that is when he is standing and she's kneeling down to unbutton his pants. And so it still works perfectly for him being on the right, because his dialogue is on top and hers is on the bottom. And it's just so good. It's so fucking insane how much work, like, it it's so much work that I'm starting to like, I hit the point of like, oh, this all has to be intentional, to how is this intentional and how are they still getting this book out every month and still used to get the book out every month and still like with how much thought has to go into that. Like it has to be instinctual for them at some point, but it is, yeah, so much effort being put into that. And then the last one I'll point out is the fact that just in terms of how the dialogue is written, the fact that it is, like you said, they don't do too many hyper fancy things. Like the difference in Prince Robot's text and font is so slight between everyone else's, but it's still just enough.
Yeah.
And like in the fact that the most they will usually do is just change the color of the font, and it's not disruptive like at all. Or I guess Upshur and Doff's is a little weird, but another major thing is that all of the dialogue is just hyper conversational and very casual and just so easy to read. Compare that to Sandman.
Oh man,
compare that to anything Alan Moore, again, Swamp Thing, and it's just like where it's just like this.
Compare that to From
prose. Hell. They have a lot of they have so many casual 10-page conversations about architecture in that book.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, it is, again, just in terms of readability, it's the most obvious thing of it's just super readable. The dialogue is super casual and conversational and natural.
And I think part of that is actually in Brian K. Vaughan's naming conventions. A lot of the time when things like name stuff in sci-fi or fantasy, they kind of come up with these names that like sound sci-fi or fantasy.
Yeah.
Whereas Brian K. Vaughan, all of these things, most of the time, they're just words that we're familiar with. And sometimes there's kind of a connection that makes sense, and sometimes there isn't. Like with like Velour, the character's name, where it's like that feels foreign, but also it makes sense, and it's not like It's not like Skithrix the Blight Dragon or something like that.
Right.
That's a little Magic the Gathering reference for all of you fans out there.
I mean, and even like, again, it's funny because Neil Gaiman is a genius, but like he just clearly has less of a concern about readability. But like the fact that Good Omens, the co-protagonist, is named Aziraphale.
Yeah.
And shit like that, where it's just like exhausting just to read it in a book over and over again.
I think particularly with fantasy, a lot of fantasy kind of draws on like kind of dense histories of mythology or different languages or things like that. And so that it's really cool and it serves world building purposes, but it makes it more difficult to approach.
Yeah, I think they strike that perfect chord. And one of your favorite characters coming up, I think, is it's a good example of that, except for the people who don't know how to say the name of a certain character that we'll meet, I think, 2 arcs from now. But again, it's like a real world word that like, yeah, it's great. They're great at it. It's so good. So this book is fantastic, and that is that's our masterclass via Saga of how to make your book just super approachable and super bingeable. Is just do all that stuff that I just said that has to take years and years of experience and thought. It's that easy.
Any others to get through?
I think he's good at transitions, match cuts, stuff like that. I think the transitions from scene to scene are really good.
Other things we've mentioned a lot. The action is very like deliberate and driven, and it's very readable.
Mm-hmm. Yep, always going left to right, except when they want you to slow down and stuff like that. It's very intentional. Yeah, that they are good about the 180 line, except for when it makes more sense for the dialogue.
Yep,
and I like that they sort of trump the 180 line with the maintaining that back and forth of characters talking, of being left and right. But yeah, there's a million little things, but I think we hit a lot of the major ones.
I think one of the big takeaways that I really get from this is that they're not trying to do things too flashy.
Yeah.
They're not trying to. It's almost they're not trying to use the medium to tell the story. They're trying to tell the story within the medium.
Yeah, again, yeah, just actively not breaking the mold, which is so weird to say about one of the most groundbreaking comics I've ever read. And then one that we mentioned actually in the last between the arcs, but is very important, so I want to bring it up to have it in this list, is the fact that that Fiona Staples paints the background and then uses flat colors on the characters so that you can immediately pick out the characters. And again, she specifically said that is to make it more readable.
That's awesome.
It's great. So there's your little list of all the things you should do in your massive 108 issue story arc to make people actually read it.
And also have lots of sex. People like sex.
Not in the book. Just have lots of sex. You'll be happier for it. I think that's a good tip, just generally.
Back matter?
Back matters. That's the name of the segment. Let's play the theme song. I don't remember what the theme song is, but I'm sure it was good. Hey, here's some stuff that we learned from reading the letters pages in the back of every issue. Which this is now, like I said, now I'm hitting my single issues, so I'd never read any of the back matters for these first 3 volumes. But also, there's a pretty good chance that about half of the issues going forward, I still didn't read the letters pages anyway, because there are times where I'm just like, I don't have time for this shit. And it's not necessary reading. So I'm sure I'll still discover new things, but this is the last one where I went in totally cold, not knowing what was going to be in here and what we'd find. First one that I want to bring up from issue 13 is that in reference to Goose and Friendo.
Yep.
This is before
this was before it was
decided. So first of all, it's something that I've referenced before, which is that Brian K. Vaughan credits Fiona Staples entirely with coming up with those characters. And as of issue 13, he had just decided that one's name was Goose and the other one was named Walrus Friend. so the original Goose and Friendo was Goose and Walrus Friend, and he said they may
Goose and Walrus Friend is the like knockoff action figure version.
And the new name of this podcast. But yeah, this is it. He also establishes that he wasn't even sure. He's like, they may have a large part to play. One or both of them might have a large part to play in the story going forward. We'll see. But it is established that until she made those designs for that issue, that they were not a part of the story, and they had no significant role. And who knows, that could change in some way. I know we said we wouldn't do spoilers, but it's fucking clearly, with how much we love Goose and Friendo, they're gonna make a comeback in some capacity.
I hope they do.
And also, Noah, I don't know how we're gonna do this. I guess just we'll link it in the whatever, and you'll just have to listen to it afterwards. But there is a rap song about Saga.
What?
By Adam Warrock. Nice Adam Warlock reference. And it's called Family Matters, parentheses, a saga.
I'm just looking. I just Googled this now. Oh my God.
I love it. So everyone at home, go ahead, pause the podcast. We'll put a link down into at least the YouTube description.
I'm listening in my background now.
This is going to be fucking worthless trying to have a conversation with you during this, but it is fantastic. And it's like, it starts from Hazel's perspective, and then I think it's about like the will, and it's also just referencing, like, it gets meta and references the writing of the book and stuff. But it's fantastic.
That's phenomenal.
So Family Matters, a Saga by Adam Warrock. We'll have to make that the new theme song at some point.
We should have Adam Warrock on the podcast.
I would love that. Hey, and also everyone who go look it up on YouTube and listen to it on there, and write a comment saying that Horns and Wings sent you to it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that'll be our planting the seed a bit. But good job, Adam Warrock, because I legitimately like the song.
I've got
it's fucking enjoyable.
I've got contact for him, so we could message him and see about having him on an episode.
That would be rad.
Cool.
I would enjoy that.
Cool.
Yeah. So there's that. I like it a lot. Also, Noah.
Yep.
I said before we started recording today, there are two bombshells
Yep.
that are specifically for you. The first was the reveal that our 4-star became a 5-star.
Yep.
And the second one, so Brian K. Vaughan got a letter that referenced how insanely hot Marco is. And then Brian K. Vaughan's response was
The letter was not wrong.
that Marco gets a lot of love, but there is not enough love for Fard. And he specifically refers to Fard as, he says, pendulously gonaded planet inseminators need love too.
Yes.
So we have confirmation that Fard's
Fard fucked the
biological rule is that he fucks planets and impregnates them. Fard the planet fucker is canon.
That's amazing.
And we are 1,000,000% going to, whenever we run out of issues, we are going to continue the story and act like it's actually happening.
Of Fard the planet fucker.
Fard the planet fucker who hitched a ride off of one of the fucking, I don't know, the missiles or some shit.
Fard the planet fucker is actually the name of my favorite grindcore band.
Have you not heard the other Saga rap song by Fard the planet fucker? Because it's fantastic. But no, I love that. I know we talk a lot about like wanting to leave things ambiguous outside of the text and not necessarily wanting a lot of things confirmed with the world building, but I needed to know that Fard fucked that planet.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. And having there is a fucking like in-world explanation for why his balls are so massive.
That's amazing.
It's great. Yeah, and also
Brian K. Vaughan is right. There is not enough love for Fard.
Yeah, no, I'm D.T.F with Fard.
Are you D.T.F Fard?
I'm down to Fard. God damn,
Down to
I've already
Fard.
put Fard in so many titles of these goddamn episodes, but we have to do Down to Fard for this one.
DTF down to Fard.
God damn it. No one clicks on the Fard ones, and still we have to do it. Also, I thought it was nice someone named their kid Hazel from the comic.
That's cute.
Wrote in and talked about that. That's nice. This one you'll be offended by, Noah. Brian K. Vaughan has never
Is it anti-Canadian? Oh.
No, it's anti-Noah. It's specifically anti-Noah. Brian K. Vaughan has never read Tolkien.
Huh.
And he has never seen any films that adapt his work. So he's never seen the Lord of the Rings films. He's never read the books, which is weird because that is the thing we reference next to maybe Game of Thrones. The thing we reference most in terms of Saga is that it is the Lord of the Rings of our time, and he has zero influence from that.
I mean, that just sounds like poor life decisions. I've lost you, John.
But you lost me.
You're gone now.
Oh,
It's just
let's do
me.
the thing.
I am taking over this podcast.
Fucking again, we do this shit. So here, now I can hear
I'm
Noah,
gonna message
but
you.
he can't hear me.
I've
And
lost
this is
you.
magical. I can say whatever the fuck I want about him. Hey, Noah.
But now that you're
how
gone,
are you going?
this is about to turn into the Fard Radio Hour.
Oh,
so
I knew it
welcome
was the
to
Fard
the
Radio
first
Hour.
in what I hope to be just hundreds and hundreds of episodes about our Lord and
holding him to
Savior,
that.
Fard.
Yeah, Fard.
Today we're actually going to talk about a lesser noticed aspect of Fard, which is Fard's bone, by which I don't mean his chode. I mean the literal bone that
going.
Fard holds. I wonder, what does that come from? Where did Fard find the bone?
Oh, now I lost him.
What do you guys think? I'll be taking calls all night for the Fard Radio Hour.
You there?
Personally, I like to think that Fard wrestled the bone out of a still living Brontosaurus.
Nope.
Though Brontosaurus actually isn't a real thing, isn't it? It's a it's a Brachiosaurus. Yes, it's the shin bone of a Brachiosaurus that Fard wrestled still living. That's what I like to believe.
Oh, I heard you for a second.
Oh, damn it, you're back.
So, fun fact, and this is going to be great for the podcast. For at least the first 40 seconds of that, I could still hear you and you couldn't hear me. So it's me commenting on you not being able to hear me. And boy, do we have a good fucking episode ahead of us.
Did you hear what so you got to listen in on the Fard radio hour?
I got to listen in for a good chunk of the Fard radio hour.
Oh, that's beautiful.
This is a recurring theme in our fucking garbage between the arts episodes. Oh, that's great. Last thing.
I'm
from
so
Back
happy
Matters.
you heard that live.
Oh man. Last thing for Back Matters is that just something that I thought was interesting because we've referenced it a few times. Is that when asked about the racial diversity in the comic, Brian K. Vaughan credits Fiona Staples for being the one who chooses that and who arranges all of that. So.
John's gone again, which means we can happily return the Fard radio to the Fard radio hours. Call 1-800-FARDS balls to talk toll free. I'd love to get someone on the line, but in the meantime, I think that we're gonna cut to a song that just makes me think of the majesty of Fard.
Please be Big Balls by AC/DC.
And just Oh, are you back?
Oh, am I? Damn it. I really want to know what this song was.
Well, we'll have to wait till the next time you drop out.
All right. Hey, let's do.
It was going to be Ride of the Valkyries by Richard Wagner.
Okay, I was really pulling for Big Balls by AC/DC, but I'll take it.
Well, I would have said that, but you've done it already.
Well, it's we're very anti-reusing jokes on this podcast, so I appreciate that.
Hey, I'm lying here.
God damn it. What a great song. So, Noah, it is the year of our Lord 2013. So I think the only appropriate thing to do is we have a major backlog for this is take the 2013 Saga reader survey.
All right.
25 questions about us personally that we are going to answer and then submit and then win a bunch of prizes for. So first question, Noah. In the parlance of these newfangled chat rooms, what is your ASL? Boy, this has aged really well immediately right off the bat. Noah, what does ASL stand for all the kids out there?
For you youths, age, sex, location, and it was used on things like chat roulette and Omegle frequently.
Remember AIM? Do you remember AOL Instant Messenger?
Yeah, but that's that's way before 2013.
Hey, no, unnecessary. Okay. I'm the average age of readers here. We've established this.
Yeah, I am actually at the time of this recording, I am 25, male, and in Vancouver. But when this episode comes out, I will be 26.
What?
Yeah.
Birthday boy. Well, my present to you.
Fards balls.
What's Fards? The explanation of Fards balls. The justification.
and
what did your
what
friend
about
get you for your birthday? Oh, just some Fard balls explanation. That's all I could ask for. ASL. God, what fucking age am I? I never.
Just say what year you were
28. 28.
Okay.
28. I'm 28. And sex. Yes, please. And of course. And was it location? I'm in this wonderful city called St. Louis. I don't know if I've told you about it, Noah.
Never heard about it.
We're right next to this.
There's a park or something.
Dude, earlier today.
This is
early.
supposed to be the fastest of these questions. We have 25 of them, and then our questions of the week.
Well, now it's the longest one. So just let me get through it, Noah. So I woke up early today, and I went out. I got a donut. I got an Oreo cookies and cream donut, gorgeous big donut from his place called Vincent Van Donuts. Go check it out; it's fantastic. Went over to Rise Coffee, grabbed the new. They finally brought back the fall spice, but they called it, I think, the fall old fashioned latte or something. Now it's fantastic. But then, no, listen.
Remember how we talked about economy of words earlier?
Then I went to. I'm still under 210 words per page here. Might have gone past 3 lines per bubble. I went to, there's this, it's called the Missouri Botanical Garden, and it's like a theme park for plants. And they have different sections of every section of the world, the plants from that area. Okay. They even have biodomes where they have like desert plants and rainforest plants.
Yep.
And I went there and I looked at it is tree week and all the changing trees. I went there, I just strolled through, had my coffee, had my donut.
How is this relevant?
Magical. Ready for podcasts. So St. Louis, come to St. Louis. We're fantastic here. Question number 2, if you're finally ready to move on, Noah. Question number 2 is, and if you don't mind us asking, where do you buy your comic books? So I live in St. Louis, and there's this fantastic.
Wait, what city
downtown.
Is that?
It is. So do you know New Orleans?
Yes, I've heard of New Orleans.
You're gonna want to get on the Mississippi River, and just go up. Just go north, and you'll hit us. Stop at the arch, and I go to Star. We mentioned this, I think, last time. They have a repeat question here. Star Clipper Comics is the fucking best.
So you're near Memphis, then?
Sorta. I'm 5 hours from Memphis, 5 hours from Chicago. We're kind of very, very central, like 5 hours from Nashville. Not that far from Minneapolis. Great location.
Only people in North America
City,
think
5
hours from somewhere isn't far.
Fucking
people in North America and Australia.
Canada, it's 5 hours to the next fucking road.
Oh yeah, no, I agree.
Talking about?
All right, I get my comics right now in Vancouver. I get them from Golden Age Collectibles, and I also just want to give a shout out.
Cut this down a little bit. No, I don't know if we have time for this.
When I lived in Ottawa, I got them from Comet Comics. Silver Snail, while it existed, it sadly doesn't exist in Ottawa anymore.
Boo.
And the Comic Book Shop, which is the most aptly named comic book shop in existence.
You know, I'm also gonna shout out All American Comics in Warren, Ohio, and also Boardman, Ohio. My good friend Greg over there, and Randy, I think, still works there. They're both great.
And actually, like, really, no, this is actually really important, guys. Like, if you've listened to this podcast and you want to buy Saga or things like that, please, or we talk about comics that you want, like it really does a lot to go buy them from local comic stores and not to order them off Amazon or something like that. Like it really is. It's really important, and comic book stores are a key part of the comics industry. So it's really important to support them.
Absolutely. And also, it's worth noting that there are a good amount of comic book shops that sell online. So if you are in a place that's I grew up in a town that was an hour away from the closest comic shop. There are absolutely, this is how I fill in a lot of the issues I've missed. I order specifically, I can't think of the shop right now, but there are absolutely plenty of shops online that will be happy to mail you copies. So do that at least instead of going to Amazon.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Hey, okay. But when was the last time you climbed a rope or used a rope to aid your ascent?
I thought about this a few years back. I went to one of those like adventure park things, and that was probably the last time.
Okay, this is so fucking funny. Because I was going to be like, oh, well, I'm from St. Louis, and we have this place called City Museum, which, Noah, have I actually talked to you?
Yeah, you have told me about that. Yeah,
it's like a big scrapyard, magical place, and I climbed a rope, and it was terrifying there. They have one that's like on a slide that's 45 degrees, and then there are a bunch of kids behind me, and I was like, oh, if I trip now, I'll die. I'll kill all these kids, and that's fun. So it's a great place. But literally today, This is the closing weekend for the children's garden at the botanical garden that I went to,
And there was a rope for you to climb.
There is a rope that I literally have rope burns on my hand right now from trying to climb this goddamn rope, and it is so hard to do. So I don't encourage it, but literally today was the last time I climbed a rope. So how about that?
So John, do you believe in any kind of afterlife?
I don't not believe. I'm purely agnostic. I'm an absurdist to the extent that it's like, I'm not gonna fucking find this out in my lifetime. Someone would have done that by now. And so
let me just say, not believing in an afterlife is not believing in an afterlife.
Well, I also don't believe that there isn't an afterlife.
No, that's such a cop-out answer. The answer is no. I don't believe in any kind of afterlife.
I mean, that's what I think. I mean,
except I do believe that Afterlife by Arcade Fire is a great song.
Fantastic song. I love the Spike Jonze when he directed the MTV Music Awards, I think it was, and then they had Greta Gerwig dance to it live. It made a live video for it. Go check that out. But I will say, fucking don't get me this. I'm gonna make this as truncated as possible.
Are you gonna say St. Louis is heaven, and when we die, we all go to St. Louis?
This is St. Louis. The afterlife. I'm in heaven right now. This is the big twist. We're at the end of Lost. So no, I will say I majored in philosophy and I got all that shit out of my system very early. But I will say I do not group myself in with atheists in the sense that people who say definitively there is no God, because that is as much of a logical leap as there is to say you're still making there is a logical fallacy there to assume that something absolutely doesn't exist when we just do not have possess the knowledge. I think it's probably unlikely. I don't personally believe there is an afterlife or a God, but I like agnostic because it's actually accurate and it doesn't take the confidence necessary that is contrary to philosophy itself. That's my answer.
Agnostics are just lazy atheists. Moving on. Who's the most famous person you went to school with?
Hey, Noah, prove that a God doesn't exist, bitch. We'll get into this right now, baby.
Burden of proof. I don't need to prove that a God doesn't exist because everything... I don't need to prove that... I can't prove that I exist either, but I'm not a purely fucking Rene Descartes person.
Here's one thing that I always liked that Hume brought up was that if you grew up on a continent where there were just red apples, then you couldn't say, oh, I know there are no green apples. That's absurd. Just because you haven't fucking seen the thing. We've observed such a tiny little fraction of our universe. And it also depends on your definition of a god, because I'm sure there are fucking advanced life forms or artificial
there's one god.
Intelligence out there.
There is one true god.
Well, his name is Fard. It's Fard. Yep. I saw that coming from. That was definitely within the observable universe. Seeing that shit.
Also, let me tell you that. Atheist doesn't necessarily mean one who believes that there isn't a God. It means one who doesn't believe that there is gods. So,
you know what? You'd probably know better than me because I just got a degree in philosophy. So, there's agnostic atheist. That's specifically what I am. There are hard atheists.
You're so pedantic.
There are hard atheists. Literally, that's the whole point of philosophy. It's nothing but semantics. There's hard atheists who say there's definitely not a God. I know there's not a God. They're full of shit. I'm saying those specific people are so full of shit and they're wrong and idiots.
Nice of you to call me that.
I'm cool with you saying that I don't believe in a God, but for you to say that there definitely is one just because you don't or isn't one just because you don't believe in it is just as much of a leap of faith as there is to say there is one. Hey, what famous person?
I never said it wasn't me. With? I'm the most famous.
Me too, baby. That's another one down. Hey, in adolescent sex talk, what does third base represent to you?
Hand to genital contact.
Okay. See,
wait, no. Mouth to genital contact.
Whoa, hold on. What's sex then? What's
Home.
penetrative sex? Okay.
That's home.
Oh, but then we get into anal, though. Is that the dugout?
Well, an orgy is a grand slam because it's grand and everyone's slamming each other.
I hate all of it. Well,
A threesome is a triple play.
okay, yeah. Let's really get in the weeds here. Let's
The seventh inning stretch is.
You got to take a break, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. It's when you need to get up and get some water because you're too dehydrated. That's the seventh inning stretch.
And then finally, we can all agree that the bottom of the ninth is you're the bottom of a 69. So, adolescent sex talk. What does third base represent to you? This is a classic misunderstanding here because what is second base? I don't know is third base. So that's a classic shout out for all of you 80-year-olds out there. Who's on first? 7, President Obama. Again, our good president. Boy, 2013 was fucking nice, wasn't it?
Yeah.
President Obama probably hasn't had too much free time since he was elected. So which non-Saga comics that have been released in the last 5 years would you most recommend to him?
Brian K. Vaughan might not know about this, but there's a really great comic called Paper Girls. Yeah, I'd recommend that. Or there's a comic I've heard of called Pretty Deadly. I don't know how I heard about it, but
way to steal mine. Pretty Deadly the Rat. Go pay, I think issue 3's coming out soon. Yeah, I'm gonna say Specs is a good one. Superhuman.
Okay.
Neon Noir. Suffragettes.
okay.
I really like Suffragettes a lot. Those are my go-tos personally. Hey, number 8. It's your final meal. What would you like to drink with that?
It depends on the meal, but probably either a strawberry milkshake or a Sunsplit IPA from Dominion City Brewing in Ottawa.
I need some clarification. Do I only get one of them?
Yes.
Because it's like, you don't necessarily want to get a beer or a shot of something if it's not going to do much. You know what? So
no, I love drinking beer for the beer, not for the drunk. I should have drank a beer before this.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah, give me 5 seconds.
All right. Okay, I'm going to do that too. And I'm not going to cut this out. Be right back. Stay.
Great radio. All right. John's still gone, which means it's time for the Fard Radio Hour. It's nice and cool here in Vancouver. It's a beautiful fall. The leaves are turning colors. It reminds me of the deep pink of Fard's eyes and nutsack. I'm going to crack open a brew here. Oh, that's a nice sound. Tonight we're drinking 33 Acres of Ocean by 33 Acres Brewing Company, and we're thinking of 33 Acres of Fard because there's never too much Fard. Oh, John's back. Oh, well, I was just doing normal things.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that Foley. That Foley. What are you drinking,
That got
John?
all over my screen. So I'm from St. Louis, and we have a very strong
Wait,
local. You might have
where?
heard of Budweiser.
From where?
Budweiser we do here.
Still Louis? Still Louis?
Fun fact, I asked for directions from my Google Home the other day, and it called it Street Louis. I really enjoyed that.
Street Louis.
But there's a local brewing company that I just went to. They had Lego night. St. Louis is a fucking dream.
That's
They have
amazing.
free Lego night, and you just go there and build with the Legos they have and drink beer. But Four Hands Brewing Company, they have this one that I discovered that night called Full Life, and it is a nice lager, just like a nice refreshing lager.
Full life, like as in like Half Life, but full life.
Full life, as in the thing you have when you live in St. Louis, baby. Yum.
Okay, yeah. Full life, as in like my life wasn't full until Fard first entered it. That was a very, very specific choice of words there.
Okay. I'm gonna finish the thing I was saying. So if I'm gonna say I only get one drink, it's gonna be the fucking hand grenade that comes in a long neon green cup down in New Orleans that you can get at like a walk-up window, because those things will knock you on your ass no matter if you just have one, and it tastes fucking delicious.
Actually, it's my final. I might, because I've never had it, and if I'm going to die, I might as well. My last drink is going to be ayahuasca tea.
Oh, boy. Fucking lamest piece of shit on death row over here. All right. Oh, boy, I'm going to be useless on this one. On Star Trek, The Next Generation, which two characters had a never acknowledged love affair that only you know about?
So this is the obvious answer, but it's clearly Picard and Data.
You know what? I'm going to go with Data and a hologram of Picard that he created on the holodeck.
Okay.
This is my
John,
answer.
what's the best thing you've ever stolen other than the last goddamn hour of my time?
I don't know if I've... No joke. I don't know if I've stolen a thing. I think I took money out of like my dad's wallet to go buy an iTunes card so I could buy either a Modest Mouse album or a Spoon album. So that I think you can figure out to the fucking month when that would be.
Do you want to apologize for that?
Fuck no. That's probably a good album statistically. Fucking like mid 2000s Spoon. Give me that shit.
You wanna hear the best answer to this? The best thing I've stolen was my fiance's heart. Bam, done.
Oh, actually, no. I'm gonna change mine to that too. The best thing I've stolen is your fiance's heart.
Yeah. What was really rude was the way that you left her bleeding on the floor. Kalima. Kalima.
I really wanted to recreate that splash of the stalk for that scene. So hey, who or what do you miss?
I miss Ottawa. I miss living in Ottawa. Ottawa's a great city. How about you?
Well, I missed the botanical garden that I went to earlier. That was really nice. What do I miss? There was in Carrollton, Ohio, where I grew up, town of 3,000 people. They had it was Ames, was like a sort of knockoff Walmart or Kmart that went out of business early 2000s. And I miss going there and saving up tons and like every dime I could save up to either get a ton of Pokemon cards or a new Lego set.
Nice.
Like, that was my job. That was my career at the time, was just any money I could save up to go get as many Legos as I could. I'd be set. So I miss you, Ames.
Know what else I miss that this survey is making me miss? I miss 2013.
Fuck yes. Fucking seriously. Holy shit. It's so bad now.
Yeah.
I want to cry from seeing the name President Obama.
Yeah.
I miss you so much. Oh boy.
And I don't even like him that much. He did a lot of really, really reprehensible moral things, but it's delightful just to think of how nice it was when he was president of your backwards country.
You don't even live here. You got the same Trudeau garbage. See, back when we both had black presidents. Hey, Noah.
Actually, in 2013, we didn't have Trudeau yet, I don't think.
Yeah, but I think he was at his blackest at that point. Have you ever had a possible supernatural experience? And if so, what happened? Did the anti-God show up and be like, yo, God don't exist? I got the skinny on it.
The anti-God is actually the name of a villain in Black Hammer, which is a great comic.
Fuck,
I was actually going to
actually
ask.
really excited when I thought of that because I was like, shit, that's really good.
I was actually going to ask, do religious experiences count? Because the first time I gazed into Fard's warty nutsack.
But Zach, hold on. We're doing some really good world building here now.
The first time I gazed into Fard's nutsack, I saw God. So, but other than that, no, I don't really think I've had anything that's possibly supernatural. Oh, actually, no. So this was fucking spooky as hell. So 2 years ago at Christmas, Emma and I were staying at her mom's house, and we were in the basement, and I'm pretty sure it was Christmas Eve, but it might have just been around Christmas, and there was a keyboard, like a piano keyboard in the basement, and it just started playing in the middle of the night. Like Emma woke up and was like, "Do you hear that?" And I was like, "What?" And it was like the piano just like playing random notes. It was fucking spooky.
That's fantastic.
What about you?
So, you know what? Honestly, the closest I've gotten to like supernatural fucking weird shit,
Yeah.
to the point where I'm just like, I'm actively, because my reaction to stuff like that is never like, oh shit, a ghost or something. It's like, oh, what the fuck are the odds of this? This is crazy that this has occurred to make it seem like this. I think a good example of that was one time I was trying to unlock my front door at a house I lived at.
Yep.
And that's a weird way to say that. But I only lived at the top floor, so it's kind of accurate. I was trying to unlock the door, and it was like middle of the night, and I looked over and I saw the most terrifying creature that in no way looked human. Or not human, but fucking earthly. Like, it looked so fictitious and alien that I was like, my first thought was, okay, I'm on a prank show. Someone's fucking with me. This is because it is this terrifying, snarling, glowing-eyed creature just totally still and staring at me. I was like, someone planted this scary thing in my yard, and then it like blinked, and I was there for a good 20 seconds just thinking, what is the explanation for this shit? And it turned out to be a possum, and to the extent where I had no idea how fucking fucked up possums could look. You please go look up like scary possum, and it is the most terrifying alien shit in the world.
I want to keep an eye on Google Trends and see if there's a spike for scary possum when this episode drops.
The first ever search for it. But the thing I was gonna say that had me really questioning shit was literally like 3 days ago. I made my first, the reason I started Make Stuff, my YouTube channel, it was because I made a video about Hamilton the musical, and I'm obsessed with it. I love it. It's literally one of my favorite things to ever exist. And it's like literally like top 5 writing of all time for me.
Definitely top 5 musicals.
Definitely top 5 musicals about Alexander Hamilton, about Treasury secretaries in the United States around 1776. But I never had the money to go see it because it's like hundreds of dollars, and I have to bring 2 people because of my damn wife. So years pass, and I play the Hamilton lottery on my phone, which is like literally if you win it, you get 2 tickets. You can buy 2 tickets for $10 each. It's Hamilton for a Hamilton, and you can go. That's who's on the $10 bill here. No, I don't know if you knew that. But the tickets are for the next day, and we won them for the Chicago show, which St. Louis is conveniently only 5 hours from. Very drivable, except when it's fucking pouring rain. So we literally like drop everything. A few days ago, we finally win the lottery. And drop everything, go up to Chicago. It's literally drive there, go see the show, drive back. Like, don't do anything else. And we get there, get the tickets. The tickets are like in a really shitty spot where it's like the top half of the stage is covered by the balcony because we're in the back, and like there's a column directly in front of me, but I still cried 4 times during the show. But we walk into the lobby, and this woman comes up to me as part of the staff and says, "I'm sorry, are you John from Make Stuff?" Which has never happened to me in my goddamn life. And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, "Hey, I'm one of your patrons on Patreon." and it's really cool to meet you. Hey, do you want to go up on the stage after the show? And I'm like, fucking yes. What is happening? So I watch the show. It's fucking great. We go up to the stage. I'm on the list. My name's spelled correctly on the list. That felt nice. I'm very exclusive. I go back up on the stage. I'm a celebrity, and I do like a video for the vlog on the stage, and it's the fucking coolest thing in the world. And then I turn around, and the fucking Hamilton's there, like the guy who plays Hamilton. And like I met him, and he was super fucking nice, and we took a picture together. And just all this shit that I just was not expecting. But just the fact that I literally, after she came up to me and we were waiting like 40 minutes for the show to start, I was just sitting there being like, I won this lottery, and then I ran into one of Make Stuff's 113 patrons in the world in this lobby, and it happens to be the one person who can get me on stage for Hamilton and meet Hamilton. And it was just such a fucking bonkers series of events. And I'm going to say, I do believe in a God now, Noah. There's burden of proof right there. God exists.
Okay.
I gotta do that. Ignore all the other shitty, horrible luck I've had in my life.
Were you just gonna find a way to shoehorn that story into like one of the answers to these questions,
no,
regardless?
I sincerely had like a question of faith when that shit was going down. It was fucking bonkers. I think it makes for a nice story. Hey Noah, do you know anyone currently in prison?
No, I do not.
Noah,
yeah.
Do you know anyone currently in prison? Noah, where were you on the night of the 16th?
No comment.
Fuck.
I plead the fifth.
Fucking, that's why I made this whole podcast, Noah. To trap you with the 2013 Saga.
It's like cereal.
I almost fucking
All
did
right.
it.
Do you know anyone currently in prison?
I've had some family members that ended up in prison for various dumb reasons, but I don't think I know anyone currently.
John, which field and or fields do you consider yourself an expert in?
I was in a field at the botanical garden earlier today. I was. Actually, it's a very specific list because I feel like it. That means like a complete knowledge, or something close to it. So it has to be kind of restrained. For me, it's specifically, and I'm talking about lore and everything. BioShock.
Hamilton. Oh.
Absolutely Hamilton. I did.
Is
4 months of
BioShock
research
a
on that
field?
shit.
Does that count
Yes.
as a field?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because also because I'm talking about lore and the making of the game, like I've done just so much passion research of just like I want more of this thing. Same goes for the Half-Life / Portal universe because those are connected, and Steven universe. I know just about all there is to know. How about you, Noah?
Again, I don't really consider myself an expert in much, but if I needed to pick, and if what your fucking soft definition of fields, I would say Led Zeppelin.
Okay.
I know a thing or two about Led Zeppelin. Maybe Jeff Lemire?
Quick, what country is Jeff Lemire from?
Yugoslavia.
Fuck, you're right. You knew the secret answer.
Actually, this is what I do actually consider myself an expert in is skiing. I have taught skiing. I'm certified to teach skiing. I've skied my whole life. I know a lot about skiing, downhill skiing, not the boring kind.
Yeah, I used to play free ski on the library computer, so I'd also include myself in that group.
Nice.
Now, I'm gonna add one because this one's interesting. Ratatouille tarts.
Ratatouille tarts. Okay.
I've perfected the ratatouille tart. It is my dish that I make it for any next when you visit St. Louis. I don't know if I've sold you on it yet, but when you visit St. Louis, I'm going to make you the best goddamn ratatouille tart you've ever had in your entire life.
This is the thing with me and why, by the way, I'm a really picky eater. I don't even know what's in a ratatouille tart. Do you kill an animated rat?
Yeah.
And then toast it?
No, you fucking idiot. I put the animated rat in my hair and then it tugs on my hairs and then it makes the tart.
You don't have hair.
Exactly. That's why I've got that's why I'm an expert, because it's so fucking hard to do.
Yeah, I'm actually an expert in very little. I like having a breadth of knowledge more than a depth. I know a decent amount about a lot of things, but I don't know a lot about a decent amount of things.
Here's the thing that everyone's thinking. Are we experts in Saga?
I mean, probably, but also I haven't even read all of it, so
That's true. See, that's the thing, is that like I feel like up to this point where we've gotten so far, I am an expert. But past that, I feel like so much of it just fucking leaves my brain.
Yeah.
And because I fly through it so quickly.
when I do my master's thesis on Saga, then I'll consider myself an expert.
Hey, Noah.
Yeah.
Have you been given an award?
Question. Does a plaque, a YouTube
Yes.
play button count?
Oh, I guess.
Because I've been given that, and also
I'm gonna say award means like placing, like competitive.
when I was like 6 years old, my brother, who was like 7 at the time, made me a #1 best friend award.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's a fucking lame brother.
Generally though, no. I mean I've won like intramurals ball hockey teams and things like that, but I've never really been given a serious award, which is a bummer because I love giving speeches. What about you? Actually, I mean, I was given there's like various awards when I graduated high school, but they're just like if you had an average above X amount, you got that award.
All right.
So that doesn't really count. Plus, high school's irrelevant, so it really doesn't count.
That's true. I skipped most of mine. Oh, have I gotten an award? I mean, Oscar is my middle name. No.
That's not how that works.
I mean, Oscar's my middle name. But I'll just leave it at that.
Alrighty. Yeah, I think we all know the answer to this one.
Has Twitter made you a happier person?
That's gonna be a resounding fuck no.
That is actively the opposite. In the way that I think atheists are dumb for saying that this can't possibly be the case, I'm going to say there is no one in the world made happier by Twitter. They don't exist.
I don't say this can't possibly be the case, by the way. I just say I don't think it's the case. I don't want people to think I'm an obnoxious alt-right YouTuber atheist.
Which means you are an agnostic atheist. I fucking hate that we've gotten into any of this.
I have a question for you, Jonathan.
Yeah.
What did your parents almost name you, and was it Jonathan spelt properly?
Okay, so first of all, it's kind of
how
two
dare
answers.
you?
First of all, go fuck yourself. Second of all, no, actually, I was gonna be named Joseph originally. They picked any fucking name out of the Bible, I guess.
Spelled Joeseph, right?
It's Geosiph. No,
Geodude.
I was gonna be a Joe, which fucking whatever. I don't care. But then my half brother had his kid like 3 months before I was born, and then they like stole the name Joseph for him. So it was like, fuck, we can't name him Joseph anymore. So I was gonna be just normal ass Jonathan, and then my dad was given the form to sign out, and he didn't know how to spell Jonathan, so he spelled it phonetically in his mind. And
that's
so now
amazing.
I misspelled Jonathan. It's fucking stupid. He ruined me.
I like how he spelled it phonetically by sticking a silent letter into it. That's how you spell things phonetically, right?
Well,
Hey,
he knew
you
how
know
to spell
what?
John. He knew how
No,
to spell
it's cool.
John. John.
No, it's cool. We both have a silent H in our name.
Oh, I always say the H in Noah.
Noah. Joch,
And I always
nothing.
go, it's Noah.
Noah. So I've got a great story on this one. So I've got a brother who's 18 months older than me, and his name is Zach. And my dad really wanted to name me Ezekiel, so it would be Zach and Zeke. And my mother nixed that name. I can't understand why, but yeah. Which also, like, just so you know, like this is gonna sound weird because my name is Noah, and my dad jokingly wanted to name me Ezekiel. But I was not raised religious at all. I've been to like 3 church services in my life. And one was a funeral, one was a wedding, and one was a baptism. So I am like, it's weird that my family has a bunch of religious names, but I am not. So here's a really relevant, it's interesting how some of these questions in 2013 just really kind of look forward to our present day.
Yeah.
Did you watch any of those videos that Chelsea Manning helped leak, especially that one?
So I have no idea what this is in reference to.
Yeah, I needed to Google it.
I was an adult. I was a 22-year-old adult when this came out. I have no idea, and I don't want to, judging by the wording of this.
I was 20 years old, and I was probably pretty drunk when this happened, because I was pretty drunk when I was 20 years old, because I was doing my undergrad, as you do.
Actually, yeah, no, that adds up for me too. Yeah, no, I'm cool. I drink too. Hey, Noah.
I have a great answer for this.
Now, if you had to fight in any war from human history, which would you choose?
The Great Emu War. That's the. Do you know about the Emu War?
I have no idea about the Emu War.
The Emu War was a war where the soldiers in Australia tried to fight against emus and lost. But it was great because I didn't need to kill anybody and I didn't get killed. So that's my Oswald Heist answer to which war would I fight in.
I played the card game War as a kid, so that one. Whoever's got that Joker, fucking they're gonna wreck. I'd have to say, I mean, well, fucking the Gulf War was like sit in a camp for forever, and then it happened for 3 days, and then it was done. So I guess
Which
that
Gulf
one,
War?
the one, the one with the Tiger Woods, v. Nicholas. Is that fucking? I don't know. I extinguished my golf references with Tiger Woods.
John, isn't there someone you should finally apologize to this week? Say for wasting all of his time with stories about St. Louis?
Huh?
No? Nothing?
No, I don't think. I don't think I should.
Nothing?
Hey, no, what's that next question coming up here?
The question was, isn't there someone you should finally apologize to this week?
No,
No?
I don't think so.
I don't think I should. I don't think there's anyone I need to apologize to.
Hey, if you can't handle me at my worst, that's totally fucking valid, and it's my problem to deal with it, and you should get the fuck out of here.
There's a great irony to me getting mad at you for wasting time. You're the one that needs to deal with this shit show of an episode.
I'm the one that listens to it 5 times over.
I'm fully assuming we're going to split into 2 parts and just do the questions of the week afterwards. All right, what's the most important article of clothing that you own?
Most important article of clothing. You know what? Oh, this is actually kind of nice. So it starts out kind of sad, but it's kind of nice. So Haley.
I'll be back in 20 minutes.
All right, perfect. So welcome to the the competing Fard Good Time Hour.
Yeah, no. So this shirt or cloth of some kind.
So this cloth, it's cloth.
That's the singular. That's the singular of clothes, right? This cloth.
It's cloth. Just one. No, I'm married. I got a wife. Her name's Haley, and we
Poor her.
she is like very iffy about marriage in general,
Yep.
like a lot of people our age are, and was very like sort of on the fence about it. But also like we talked about it, and she was living in Canada, I was living in the States, and we were like, we love each other a lot, and it's going super well, and we kind of hit that point where it's like the next logical step is because we'd also lived together, sort of. I was living kind of illegally in Canada. Don't tell anyone.
That's why we need a border wall.
Exactly. I'm stealing all your non-jobs of sitting in an apartment and watching Hannibal for a long time. Toronto.
That philosophy degree did you well, eh?
So it was like okay, well the logical thing, both emotionally and practically, is to get married and like do the whole visa thing, and one of us move to the other one's country officially. And so I proposed to her. She said yes, and then like a few days later, she realized she had all these like there were conversations we hadn't had yet about marriage that was giving her a lot of anxiety, and so she was like, I'm feeling iffy about this, and I was like, that's cool, whatever. We're calling off the engagement, and whenever you feel comfortable, you propose to me. And then that, because I don't want to put you in the position of like making you say yes before you're ready to do it. And so then, month or so later, she didn't know like my ring size or anything, and didn't want to get me a ring. So she bought me a nice tie that I had been wanting for a long time, and she proposed to me with the tie. And so it's my proposal tie, and I cherish it deeply.
That's sweet.
And we're happily married, and it's been great.
That's very sweet.
Top that shit, Noah. What fucking hat do you like?
So on my grandfather's deathbed.
Fuck.
No, just kidding. My most important piece of clothing is my Toronto Maple Leafs jersey. One of them. I have several.
Literally
of them,
knew it was gonna be that. I knew it.
Yeah, I don't have any important pieces of clothing that I can think of. I only own 3 articles of clothing. I own a single sock, a fedora, and a Leafs jersey. So it's difficult to.
It's like a really fucked up Donald Duck situation with your clothing.
Absolutely. John.
Yeah.
Are you happily addicted to anything other than St. Louis?
Yeah, meth.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay there.
It's been doing wonders for me, dude.
This is some third eye blind shit.
No, my third eye's wide open, man. It's that meth. It's fucking great. You know what? Lately, writing. I've been working on a new comics project,
nice.
and I was feeling really burnt out like a month or so ago, and this last month I've been working like fucking crazy because I started a new comic project, and that kind of spread out to all other work where I'm just like high on that motivation.
I feel that. I've been very happily addicted to making art lately. Though this past week I failed at my Inktober and dropped the ball, so I can't be that addicted.
Ugh.
I guess I'm also addicted. No, I can't really think of much. Maybe beer, but not really. Like, I don't need beer. I just like beer. It's not a problem.
What they all say.
I promise you, it's not a problem.
Oh,
I only have 8 to 10 a day. It's not a problem.
The issue here is 12-step program. You get to that higher power step, and it's like there's definitely not a higher power. Hey, this is definitely going to be 2 episodes. Hey, Noah, we're having a dance. Would you like to come to our dance?
Fuck
Noah?
yeah. Fuck
All right.
yeah.
I'm
down to any dance. Last night I went to a Halloween roller disco, and it was awesome. Oh, by the way, I mean, this is coming out later than Halloween, but what were you for Halloween, if we wanted to share?
Oh, I was Hopper from Stranger Things.
Oh, nice.
Because then I could be just just a tubby schlub with a mustache. That is my literally last year I was Mario.
Are you gonna be Wilford Brimley next year?
Actually, I think I've mentioned this. I spent too much money on like an Indiana Jones hat.
Yep.
Because then I have it figured out that I'm gonna be Indiana Jones, and then I'm gonna be Johnny Thunder, the Lego character. Which, by the way, Noah.
Yeah. Oh, I know who Johnny Thunder is.
Nothing has apparently dictated my aesthetic more than Johnny Thunder.
Yeah, I believe you me, I know a thing or two about Johnny Thunder.
but it was great because Haley has her hair shaved right now, and so she was 11. And we made a good team. Except when we made out, that was fucking weird. And then last year she was Luigi, and so it's just like we gotta do better makeout characters.
Yep, that's weird.
What were you, Noah?
Emma and I went. This was like insanely last minute, but we pulled it off so well. And it was kind of Saga inspired, actually.
Oh.
I was thinking of things we could pull together last minute.
You went as Gwendolyn.
No, we went as the cover of a trashy romance novel.
Oh, nice.
So I wore like a shirt that was open and took like a bunch of jewelry from her and wore way too much jewelry. And she wore like a flowing dress, and she has this big wig of like blonde locks that she wore. It's pretty fun.
That's fucking
great. Maybe I'll send you the picture and you can see what I look like. But I kind of like the mystery.
All right. I think. Well, here's the thing: is I think you like followed one of my Instagrams or something, and so if I so desired, I could go click on a profile picture any second. But here's the thing: is I love the mystery, Noah.
It's not actually.
You're so
I mean,
dreamy in my mind.
I don't spend. Well, I mean, I am dreamy, but I don't spend that much. Like, I don't tell people. But if you really wanted to know, like it's pretty easy to find what I look like. I have a LinkedIn.
Where you live too. That's the part that I'm excited to get out there.
Like the specific address.
You've jokingly started to describe it so many times that I think you've put out all the pieces.
Well, the good thing is you need a fob to get in, so it's okay.
Okay, well, there's another piece of the puzzle, people. Add that to the heist plan. Also, yeah, I love dances. The Snailoween party used to be or I'm sure still is. We went to a shitty one that was arranged by other people one year, but Snailoween party from the Silver Snail in Toronto was the best fucking party of all time. And ever since then, I've been addicted to dancing. I fucking danced at there's an after party at T.F. Do you know T.F?
No.
The Toronto Comic Arts Festival.
Okay.
It's the best. It's the best Comic-Con in the world. It's free and it's actual, like all actual artists, and they get like fucking. They had what's his name? The guy who does terrifying mangas.
That's a really, really clear description.
Fucking, I know his name any other second. This goddamn full life vlogger is getting to my head so fast. Junji Ito. I
just Googled scariest manga artist and Junji Ito came up.
Fucking the perfect description. Junji Ito is there this last year, but it's always like fucking, all the Toronto people.
Just for the record, my last two Google histories are now scariest manga artist and scary possum.
This is the Halloween episode. Which we totally forgot to mention with the Patrick.
Yeah.
Yeah. but TCAF, I went to an after party there and was surrounded, like fucking Jason Aaron was there, and like Emmy Lennox and all these like really big comics figures were there, and I got pretty fucking drunk and just danced up a storm. But this you'll be fucking jealous of. Do you know who the DJ was of this particular after party?
Who?
The composer for Adventure Time.
Oh my god.
Was the DJ, and it was Prince night.
That's so
because
cool.
Prince had just died. So, and
that's pretty cool.
After the set, after dancing to him all night, I went up to him and I was like, that was a fucking great set. And he's like, oh, thanks, man. And he hugged me. So that's another best friend I have in the books. Next episode, we'll have him on as a guest. Hold me to it. Hey, Noah.
Yeah?
You have to permanently give up either movies or television. So what's it going to be?
I feel like this was a lot more difficult of a question in 2013, but like nowadays, I'm definitely giving up movies. Like I like movies, but there's so much good TV.
I here's the thing. I think that artistically, the best stuff is happening with movies right now, but just the.
You think artistically the best stuff is happening with movies? Have you watched Barry?
I literally meant to see. I meant to say TV. Barry is
I was gonna say
second favorite show on TV right now. Yeah, actually, now that you mentioned Barry and also Watchmen, just the idea of giving it up right now, not getting to see what the fuck happens with Watchmen, would be so destructive to my life.
Also, this is gonna hammer it home for you. You do realize that if you have to permanently give up TV, you can't watch Steven Universe.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is they announced that it already kind of soft ended, and the new thing coming out is an epilogue. So we're good on that front. We already had the perfect ending.
But you can't rewatch it.
It's so ingrained in my soul, Noah. I'm an expert in the field, Noah. But anyway, I'm just saying. It's literally the deciding factor for me is the experience of seeing movies, and I just love it so much, and it is so unlike anything else.
That's true.
And it's like, in my mind, it's giving up sitting at home and watching a thing, or going to fucking midnight premiere of a new Star Wars movie or something, and it's like that trumps it every time.
Here's the thing about going to movies is you need to leave the house and pay money for it.
Yeah, but like Netflix costs money. I say that
it costs my mom money.
Yeah, I was gonna I say that as if I paid for my fucking Netflix. It's my fucking mother-in-law's Netflix. No one pays for that shit.
I am probably gonna pay for Disney's thing though, and I'm 100% gonna pay for. I'm gonna fucking pay for Apple's thing because they're making a goddamn Foundation adaptation, and it's gonna be bad, but I'm gonna watch it.
I mean, I need to watch Dickinson. Is the thing? Is just like I need it. And, fucking Jennifer Aniston, Steve Carell, Reese Witherspoon, all in one show. You know I need that early show. I'm not a fucking Neanderthal.
I need TV because I can't give up the ranch.
Fucking next question. Finally, please draw a quick doodle of yourself, especially if you're not an artist, which we will do, and we will post them.
We will post them on socials.
Is
that where we're gonna leave this episode?
That's
and we'll come back to questions?
That's the when this goes live, we will post those in the thread.
Good, because I need to go to the store and buy something to eat. Emma and I are making prosciutto and brie sandwiches for dinner tonight. Oh,
dude, that is Ratatouille.
Really?
Yeah, that's actually Ratatouille.
Really?
That's hilarious.
I don't believe you.
Okay, you could not believe me, but that's like actually Ratatouille.
No, ratatouille is a French Provençal stewed vegetable dish originating in Nice.
Half of these aren't words you're saying, Noah. There's no proof here. The burden of proof is on me, and I refuse to prove it. So therefore, I'm right.
Did you completely missed my joke of calling it Nice. I know how to say Nice. Ratatouille niçoise.
See, I think you proved us all wrong there, Noah. You came out on top on that one.
I'm an expert in Quebecois.
Hey, Noah.
Yeah.
Can you tell us where people can find you so they can actively avoid you?
Honestly, I don't even want to after this.
Go check out Noah's completed 30 days of Inktober.
By the time this really comes up, I will do them, and I'll make sure the last one gets you.
The last one should be the doodle you
Let
do
me see
of
what
yourself.
The prompt is. Well, I need to figure out what the prompts. The last one is ripe. Yeah, I'm ripe. The second last one is catch, and I'll do it for that because I'm a catch.
God, that's fucking worse. You know what? I'm gonna say that by the time this comes out, I'm gonna have a new video essay out.
All right.
About Neutral Milk Hotel. I'm putting my feet to the flames on this one. Can't wait till I burst into flames.
All right. Yeah. So actually, if you want to see me watch Polyphonic and everything, you know this by now. This in between arcs. This 2-hour in between arcs is not going to be what brings in a new listener.
Where can people find the Fard Radio Hour from now on?
If you tune into 69.9 Fard FM.
Was it 1-800 Balls?
Fards, yeah. I think it was 1-800 Fards Balls, which is too long for a phone number, but...
Yeah, that's where I stopped believing it. All right, and you gotta check us out on the Twitter and on the YouTube and stuff, and answer those questions of the week. There's still some time because we're gonna wait a day to record these. And a big old I'm sorry to Fiona Staples, Brian K. Vaughan, Photographics and Image Comics for writing something that was totally had nothing to do with this episode.
I'm really sorry to anyone who listened to this episode.
Okay, you know what? Since this is half an episode, so I think we're gonna have to leave this one off with a "Am I?"
Am I?
Bye.
All right. Want to clap?
Yep. All right. 3, 2, 1, clap.
Clap. That was a very you fucking syncopated your countdown, which you really shouldn't do.
I focused so hard on doing it. I think it might have been a Discord thing. Because don't here. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Ready? 3, 2, 1, clap.
Yeah, that's basically what you did.
No. All right. Third time's a charm.
This is good blooper reel stuff. This is good
clap.
material.
3, 2, 1, clap. Come in anytime. 3, 2, 1, clap.
Oh, are we just... Wait, we're just trying to start a slow clap. Wait, we just got a slow clap. We just got...
This is... Okay.
Setting the tone real good for this. Yeah?
Let's clap sync, all right?
Okay.
I'm gonna. The point of it is so that I can look at the waveform and see where a clap is. This is ruined. All right, ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, clap.